Some days you just wake up and wonder if you're about to be the main character in the kind of story people whisper about for years. That was me, a guy who just wanted to design homes in peace, living in this lakeside cabin my grandfather built with his own hands, thinking the biggest thing I'd ever have to deal with was a stubborn water heater or a raccoon in the trash. And then out of nowhere, the world turned upside down thanks to a woman who thought she could run an entire neighborhood by sheer force of will. Let me set the scene. I'm Ethan Matthews, 42, architect by trade, sentimental fool by nature. I'd barely been in this cabin 6 months, still getting used to the way the sunlight hits the lake in the afternoon, when suddenly my peace is shattered by this shriek outside. Get out right now before the police arrive. I step onto my porch and there's Margaret Wellington, self-crowned queen of the Lakeside HOA, never elected, just took over like a hostile business merger. She's got 3 suits in tow, all looking like they walked out of a B-grade mafia flick, and she's waving this document at me like it's the word of God. She's always been trouble. Folks around here call her Karen behind her back, but honestly, Karen doesn't cover it. She's more like a one-woman wrecking crew, equal parts PTA president and evil stepmother, and she loves nothing more than putting people in their place. Today, she decided it was my turn. Mr. Matthews, you have exactly 10 minutes to vacate this property. Her voice could curdle milk. She's got a legal-looking document, but if you squint, the whole thing reeks of printed at Kinko's signed in the car. I take the paper, look it over, embossed seal, lots of legalese, but something's off. The signatures are too clean, the wording a little too dramatic. I hand it back and tell her I'll be verifying everything with my attorney before I even think of packing a single box. Margaret's face turns beet red and suddenly she's dialing 911, giving her best performance as the imperiled damsel. Yes, I need the police immediately. There's a dangerous man refusing to leave private property. Meanwhile, I'm standing on my own deck, mug of coffee in hand, wondering if I'm dreaming. Cops show up, 2 cars, lights flashing like it's the climax of some true crime special. The lead officer is Detective Sarah Collins, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense, the kind of person who's probably seen one too many HOA disputes for her liking. What's funny is the moment she locks eyes with Margaret, something passes between them, a history maybe, or just the world weariness of dealing with the same troublemaker too many times. Collins takes the paper, inspects it like she's looking for clues to the Kennedy assassination, then hands it back and says, "Mr. Matthews has the right to verify this document. He's not going anywhere until that happens." You should have seen Margaret's face. The mask slips just a bit, and you realize this isn't about rules, it's about power. Her boys in suits are getting twitchy, sweating even though it's cool by the lake. The standoff drags on, voices raised, but in the end, the cops leave, handing me a card. Call me if anything escalates. Margaret storms off, but not before giving me a glare that could peel paint. That night, I lock every door just in case. You know what I mean? This isn't just a nosy neighbor anymore. Something is rotten in this community, and I start to wonder how far Margaret's willing to go. So I dig. I hit the county office, pull records, ask around. Turns out Margaret's been trying to buy up half the lake for years, always targeting the older folks, always swooping in after someone has an accident or a family tragedy. One of my neighbors, Mr. Jenkins, is now in assisted living after his wife died suddenly, and wouldn't you know, Margaret was bringing them casseroles right before Mrs. Jenkins' stroke. That's when I start connecting dots. I find out Margaret used to be a nurse but lost her license after some shady medication stuff. Nothing ever stuck. Records mysteriously redacted, but the whispers are there. I finally sit down with Detective Collins at a diner out of town. She lays it all out, 4 suspicious deaths, all property owners who wouldn't sell, all just close enough to natural causes that nobody dug too deep. Margaret's got connections too, an affair with the governor, a son who's not her husband's biological child, blackmail material on half the county board. And then there's her husband Harrison, once a strong outdoorsy guy, now fading fast, memory loss, confusion, the whole 9 yards. Collins says Harrison called her for help but vanished before they could meet. The pieces fall into place. Margaret's poisoning him slowly with something that mimics a natural decline. and she's already eyeing me as the next problem to solve. That's when Collins makes her pitch. We need her on tape. You're the bait. I'm not gonna lie, I thought about running, selling the place, disappearing somewhere warm and HOA free. But there's a moment where you realize if you back down, you're not just letting yourself down. You're letting every neighbor down who's been bullied or worse by someone like Margaret. So we wire up my cabin, set up a meeting. Margaret, ever the charmer, invites me over, lays out her whole routine. Harrison's so sick, such a shame. Medical bills piling up. Maybe you'd be willing to sell your cabin to help. The longer she talks, the clearer it gets. This isn't just real estate, this is a hunt. She tells me straight-faced how she's been managing Harrison's medications, how sometimes people need a gentle push to do the right thing, and how she's got a pharmaceutical specialist guiding her, Dr. Hayes, the same disgraced pharmacist Collins had been tracking. She practically confesses not knowing the whole conversation is being piped into a van down the street full of police and legal folks holding their breath. I leave her mansion feeling like I need 100 showers. Collins gets her warrant, puts the plan in motion. Margaret is finally going down. But of course, it can't ever be that easy. That night, Margaret and her thugs show up at my cabin, all but spelling out their intentions. We know about your recording equipment, Ethan. Dead men tell no tales. She's got her own tech guy, Dr. Hayes himself, apparently a hobbyist in counter-surveillance, and suddenly I'm locked in phone jam, no way out. Except remember that backup surveillance team Collins mentioned. I start signaling, flicking lights, praying someone's watching. Just as Margaret's about to kick down my door, the place erupts, cops everywhere, sirens the whole 9 yards. Collins steps out with the megaphone, reading off enough charges to put Margaret away twice. Margaret's caught, but she still tries to pull the strings, threatening to call in political favors, warning of ramifications. But Collins has everything, including the recording of Margaret bragging about her handiwork. Her face when she realized she'd been outsmarted, priceless. In the end, Margaret gets 25 to life. Her sidekick Hayes goes away for 15, and even her muscle gets a decade apiece. Harrison survives barely, and when the poison clears, he's back frail but grateful, testifying against the woman who almost ended him. Cameron, the son, has to face the truth about his mom and his real father, but at least he gets a shot at a life not defined by lies. The community changes too. We set up a real HOA with actual elections, not just whoever shouts the loudest. People speak up more. Harrison becomes an advocate for elder abuse prevention, and even Collins gets promoted for breaking the case. I stay put. I keep my cabin, my business, and I build a memorial for Margaret's victims, a little room full of light and photos, and the reminder that evil really can wear pearls and bake a mean casserole. So that's my story. It's wild, I know. But here's the thing, evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it lives next door and brings you baked goods. Sometimes standing up is terrifying. Sometimes it's the only thing that works. Would you have done the same in my place? Or do you think there's more to these stories than meets the eye? Drop a comment. Tell me your HOA horror story and hit that. Like if you've ever had to stand up to a bully in your own backyard, because trust me, you're not alone. And sometimes karma just needs a little push.